Number 15. I often go on the deep web. I've always found it interesting, but I was kind of growing bored at one point. I'd seen all that I could see really, or so I thought, or within my comfort zone should I say. I'd seen all the drug trades, hitmen, stuff like that. It was pretty messed up, but if you've been on it as long as I have, it's nothing new to you. Then again, I did know about this one place. It was like the Hidden Wiki. For those of you who don't know, the Hidden Wiki is basically how you navigate through the deep web. It gives you lots of different links to pages. This version, however, was far worse. Every single site link it given you, they are all mumbled up and in type of codes, so you would never be able to find the same link again, where it would replace them soon after. And all of the links that it gave you were all coded, so you had no idea what you were getting yourself in for. Anyway, I clicked on one. The first thing that come up was me and my child. I thought, that's weird, that sort of looks like a Surface web page. There was a photo of a lady cradling her child in a blurry photo. Then I read down a little bit. Nothing too interesting. It was really weird. It was just a lady there holding something. It was almost like it was a rotting doll. She dressed it up. It was like a family photo album of her and this thing. I thought maybe she was just mentally ill and it was her like childhood toy or something. But then it hit me. At the bottom was a description. This is my child. He's not dead. People think he's dead. I know he's not. That's funny. I love him. Then it hit me fully. This was a lady who had a miscarriage, and she couldn't take the fact that her child was dead. So with her completely dead fetus, she was dressing it up as if it was a real thing. It was absolutely disgusting. But more than anything, this was just sad. Number 14. I was on the deep web and I found a page called Create Your Own Monster. I thought it was strange. I was really curious. I decided I was going to find out what this actually was. I started going through it and it was an array of tick boxes. You got to choose how many legs they had, how many arms they had, any mutations you wanted. Did you want them to be dead or alive? Dead or alive? That's scary. I finally got through it all to the end, and then it turned out they had photos for evidence. Do you want to see? I had to, I guess. I clicked through. I couldn't believe it. It was disgusting. These were real people they were making into mutations. They were cutting off limbs just so you could have your own person. And worst of all, they were actually running this. They were going to deliver it right to your door if you wanted. This was absolutely horrific. I've never seen anything like it in my life before. I can't believe things like this actually exist. Number 13. I can tell you, there's people out there who do things you could never imagine, who commit evil like nobody else. I honestly don't know what to think of the world anymore. Anyway, if you don't think a red room is real, you can think again. This is what happened to me. I was on the dodgy parts of the deep web. I'd probably been on it for too long. I knew I was in the messed up parts. I eventually come across a red room. At first it was just a blank screen, like there normally would be as it's loading. Then it popped up. There's an admission fee in bitcoins. I paid up just to go through because it wasn't that much money. Then a voice come up. It was automated. Welcome to this red room. You pay for what you see. That's simple. You pay, we deliver. I thought this was strange. Then a countdown come up. 10, 9, 8, until finally it was down. And what come up next was disturbing. It was a room filled with 6 hospital beds. Not like a normal hospital, more like a warehouse factory. It was absolutely disgusting. Each of the bed had a number next to it, 1 to 6. There was no sound, not a lot of movement really. Then it come to my attention. There was a bidding war going on in the right hand corner of the screen. Whoever got the highest bids, I guess. At the minute, number 1 was winning. What the fuck? They're bidding bitcoins. For what? Then a countdown started again. 10, 9. I was watching in horror trying to figure out what was actually going on, if this was real. It was too late then. 0. We have a winner. Number 1. And this is when it gets absolutely disgusting. Said, thank you for bidding. What do you want us to do? Nothing was said for a while, then it said, very well then. Just like that, whoever it was in the black mask went up, grabbed that number 1. They were a real person, screaming and kicking. The webcam went blank. Then it said, please wait 10 seconds. 10 seconds later, it was in another room. And they proceeded to pin the person down. There was more than one then. They all surrounded it. It was a man. You couldn't really see it too well because of the camera. They were still bidding on other ones. What the fuck? Then they proceeded. I couldn't believe the next thing. It made me feel sick. And it said, go on, skin him. And he said, you get what you pay for on this site. And then he went out and pulled a big knife. He put it right up to the man and started cutting at his leg. I'm absolutely terrified to this day by what I've seen. Number 12. I found this site called Unit 731. I didn't really know what it was, but it rang a bell. I clicked on and went through to the website. It was really strange. It was like hundreds of medical documents. They were really disturbing though. Then it hit me. This was the Japanese World War II Human Experiment Unit that carried out the horrific atrocities on our soldiers. Then I clicked on one. It said blood transfusion. It was a blood transfusion, but with the wrong blood type, just to study the effects. There was other things, like open surgery without anaesthetic. They went into extreme detail. There was also asphyxiation. It was horrible. It would say like 10 minutes in, subject moving. Minute 15, small signs of life. Minute 20, muscular spasms. 25, subject dead. Then I looked at the bottom and it said 2011. These weren't from Japan. These were really happening, and they were happening even to this day. They were carrying out human experiments, replicating those like in the Japanese experiments. These were real. Number 11. So my friend regularly used the deep web for his drug deals. I know how stupid this was. I often told him this, but he knew it was cheaper that way, and he had a far lesser chance of getting caught. Somewhat. So one day he did a deal. Everything went through okay. He agreed to meet in an abandoned warehouse somewhere. He did it alone, which is the most stupid part, he's admitted. So he went down to this warehouse where the drug deal was about to happen. It was really sketchy looking when a big van pulled up. He went up to the van and they said, have you got the money? Money? I already gave you the money. He said, no, the fee for us delivering it. My friend was pissed off and walked back to his car to get the $10 when he'd got a really funny feeling. He looked behind him. 3 men had jumped out of the back of the van. They were all running for him. He really quickly darted into his car and got the fuck out of there. He never got a chance to read the plate or anything, but he was seconds away from getting abducted. Thank God he looked back. God knows what would have happened if they'd actually captured him. Number 10. I was on the deep web on my laptop one day. I found some pretty messed up sites, as always, but then I found one of the most disturbing that I'd ever seen. It was a community called the IRL Cannibals. This was really scary. The most disturbing part was how professionally it was set up, and how anonymous it was. At first it just had people talking about their fantasies, but then I found another thing. It said exactly how to do it, how best to capture victims, other links to sites if you wanted to pay a price to try and capture one. There was one where it went into extreme detail of how somebody had eaten somebody this one time. It was repulsing. They gone into things like the meat tastes a lot better when the victim's scared, especially when they scream, makes it more tender. I suppose that was from all the beatings this bitch took. It was absolutely disgusting. They described how eating them apparently made them become even more powerful. I went on to this one, and the most scary thing about all of this experience was that it was from 2014, and they started discussing about how they wanted to find victims. They were saying exactly how they were going to do it, who would get to eat what. I've never seen anything this disgusting in my whole life. Number 9. On the deep web, there's a lot of really fucked up stuff, but this has to be one of the worst ones I've ever seen. I was using the deep web, and I found a link that took me to a type of porno. It was really messed up. Just as I got there, I got greeted by the site owner. "Hey, what brings you to the site?" And I said, "Nothing, I'm just curious really," typing it in, and he said, "Well, okay, I'm just going to tell you. Some of us have fetishes." Fetishes? What do you mean? He said, "You'll see. Just some of us have some pretty strange ones." I clicked on. At first everything seemed normal, but then I started reading into it a bit. After I got past the first page, there was literally hundreds of pages that could load up. I didn't want to click on any, and then I decided rather than just going in head first, I'd actually read. And it said, person hit by a truck, decapitation, bridge jump, nothing left but bones, victims, plane crash victims. It was repulsing. These people were actually getting a kick out of watching other dead people's bodies. There was even some videos. There was even some about tortured soldiers, people being hung. It was absolutely repulsing. It was really disgusting. Just as I was thinking that, the little icon popped up again with the owner. "Like what you see?" I said, "Hell no, you're disgusting. What's wrong with you people?" Then he said, "Bad choice. We're going to monitor you now. Hopefully you don't have to end up like one of them." I thought, what the actual fuck? I slammed down and closed up all of my computer. I had to turn it on again quickly just to make sure that I'd shut everything down properly. And just as I did that, I noticed my webcam was on, and a voice came up saying, "Going somewhere? Watch how you tread. Tread lightly. Don't call the cops. You can get in more trouble than we are for this." And I've never turned on that computer again. I'm terrified. The webcam was working, but this is where it only gets worse. I was on my phone, sitting on my main computer, when it flashed up with a photo of me in my room. What the fuck? It was like deja vu. I was looking at a photo of myself and the same thing come up on my phone. Then I looked behind me. My webcam light was on again. They were watching me again. Since then, I haven't used any of my phone's internet, my laptop or my computer. I'm not really sure what to do. I had to go out and buy a new computer immediately. Get a different internet provider. Number 8. I found this large community forum on the deep web. It was called the Paedophile Help Forum. It was disgusting. It listed in extreme detail how that people can capture children, how most easily to get them to trust you and other stuff. The most scary thing was they were being serious. They were saying what's the best techniques to use. If they want to do it in a group, they organised it. How best to film them. There was even films and video on there of how they did it, like interactive tutorials. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen, that a community like this can actually exist. Number 7. I was on the deep web one time. I was looking through the different pages and one come up called Tell Me Everything. This is where people can make anonymous confessions, or at least that's what I thought. I went through, some of them were pretty strange. They were listing some pretty personal details, bad things they'd done in the past, other stuff like this. I started to write up some of my own stuff, only half joking, when I realised that it was more of a Q&A type thing. A little box popped up and it said, "Ask me anything." I didn't know what to type, then it said, "Well." I decided to type, "Who are you?" He said, "That's not the point of this." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Have you ever killed?" "Yes." I didn't believe him at first. I said, when? In the 90s. Are you planning to kill again? Yes, I am. Then my screen froze. Then my webcam popped on. It said, good, I was looking for a new victim, and there was this hellish type laughing. Just as that happened, it started listing up all my personal details, one bit at a time. First it flashed up where I live, then it flashed up my full name, my address come too. Then it started flashing up my family members. I had to destroy my laptop. I just smashed it onto the ground into fucking pieces. I'm really scared by this. Hopefully I managed to stop it before it was all too late. Maybe it was just a guy playing with me. Nonetheless, I think I have more than reason to be terrified. Number 6. I was on the deep web and I come across some really scary looking pages. I ended up on this one. It was all foreign writing, but there was still English typing people on there. It was a forum at first. They were bidding in bitcoins, each one having a text. Start with the arms. No, the legs. Skin him. Make him bleed. Drink the blood. What the fuck? What were these guys doing? They were bidding on something. I had to pay the Bitcoin fee just to get through to the live stream. Then I could actually see what these people were raving about. I decided to do it because I was a curious type of person. And it come up with a dark room. And there was this just man sitting there. But he had blood everywhere. He wasn't screaming or anything. Then I realised there was someone holding a gun to him, forcing this man to do whatever he said. And he started chewing on his arm. He lifted up his arm, but half of it was gone. They were bidding to make this man eat himself alive. I was absolutely distraught by this. Now I faint at the sight of blood, everything. It's really messed me up in my head. I've never seen anything as disturbing as this in my life before. Number 5. I found this site called The Sound of Death. I knew I shouldn't have clicked on it from the title, but I had no idea what it was. It was really strange. I decided to proceed and click on it. Anyway, after clicking on it, I realised what it was. It was literally thousands and thousands of recordings of people just before they died. It was horrific. It was sounds of things like boats just before they're about to go down. If somebody got killed in the army even. I listened to one of them. It was horrible. You could hear screams of children on this boat just before they went down. All their prayers. Then nothing. Silence. The thing that was the most horrific about all of it was the community following it. In the comments, I looked below. One of the first comments that come up was, "There's nothing sweeter than the sound of children screaming." Number 4. This is my experience of a drug trade that went horribly wrong. And that was the last time I'd ever used the deep web for any type of drug transactions. So here's how my story goes. I usually use the deep web to do drugs deals because it was harder to track you that way, and normally it was a little bit cheaper. Using bitcoins and all also made it even better. So I was on there one day, but this time I decided I was going to make a much larger order than normal. The thing is, normally they just post it to you, because the drugs are normally small, like pills or capsules or whatever. They can just put them in a little envelope. But this time, I was going to have to get a box. At first I thought this was dodgy because there was no way they were mailing it to me, or handing it in person through my mail. I was actually going to have to meet them. I knew this was sketchy at first. I didn't want to do it. We ended up agreeing on a location. It wasn't too far away from where I lived out of town, near a forest area. I didn't mind doing that, just because it was out of the way, so they couldn't find where I lived. So I decided I was going to go ahead with this. I'd driven out there, ready to make the transaction happen. So I'd driven up there. It took quite a while, but I finally got there. I parked up there and tried to contact the seller. Hey man, I'm here. Where are you? We're just in the forest. Come over here with us. Forest? Why wouldn't they just park where I was? What the fuck? There was 3 or 4 other cars around me, so I guess this gave me some security. Just as I got out my car though, there was a couple who looked really worried, pointing and just speeding off. I'm sure it was something I just saw. I went up to the guys and everything went normal. I got in my car and went to drive off. I was driving for about 10 minutes, then I realised I was being followed. Or so I thought. There were 2 other cars. I went for about another 10, then 20 minutes. They were still following me. I did the 4 right turns, then 4 left turns, then just once more. Fuck. I recognised the car. It was them who were following me. I was terrified. I decided I wasn't going to drive to my house anymore. It was too dangerous. What if they tracked where I lived? What if they come for me? I got to the nearest motel. I'd finally lost them though. I ended up booking a room. It was okay, but I still hadn't checked up the box yet because I hadn't had time. I didn't want to open it up in the motel. I heard some police sirens outside where I was, so I decided it was time I got the hell out of there. So I went to hand in my keys and they said, "Can you wait, sir? We've just had an incident." Incident? What the fuck? Just as I got there, I heard on the security radio there were 4 men breaking into room 94. That was my room. They had just broken into it, literally seconds after I'd left. Apparently they were armed, according to the witnesses. They kicked in the door too. Tons of them. I got there and the police were also there. There were some other people there too. I spoke to the security guards and everything was still there. They told me it was almost like they were looking for someone. At that moment my heart dropped. Everything was still there, but the box. Then it hit me. They must have had a tracking device in the box following me, not wanting any evidence to be left behind. Number 3. I was on a website on tour called Being Watched. I didn't understand what it was at first. At first, it just came up with a series of questions. Apparently, if you could answer all of them correctly, it would give you some free bitcoins. I know it was stupid. I knew I'd never probably see them coins even if I could answer all the questions right. But anyway, I decided I was going to proceed and see what it actually was. So I started to go through them. It was really disturbing. It was asking you questions about how'd you like to be killed. I filled out each of these questions jokingly. Stuff like, do you want to be found? Where do you want to be killed? I filled in all these questions jokingly. Then I looked up. That was weird. My mum's webcam light was on. It didn't make any sense. I didn't have her computer on. Then I looked and mine was the same. Even my mobile's one was on as well. I absolutely shit one at this point. It was horrific. I've never felt such a horrible feeling. Just like that, it popped up with photos of me on the screen, and it come up with a description of how I wanted to be killed with all my joking answers. Loads of photos of me. Then it just come up with, "You're being watched," and it shut down my computer completely. It's been about 6 months now since all that's happened. Nothing's happened to me so far. I'm just really scared. I'm never going back on the deep web again. Number 2. I found a really disturbing site. It was called CIA. Do it yourself. You can kind of guess what it actually was by the title. I clicked on to see what it actually was. It come up with video tutorials, full in-depth descriptions about how you yourself could torture people like the CIA did. It had all kinds of things written like how to conduct waterboarding. As long as they would keep giving you stuff, you had to provide them with stuff. It had a little question mark so you could expand what it was asking you. I clicked on it and it said, "Show us how effective these are. How well are you torturing your victim? Want to see other people's?" I clicked on it and there was hundreds of pages worth of other people committing these on things. I can never tell if these were actually real people or just mannequins, but I hate the thought of not knowing. Number 1. I found a site on the deep web which was really disturbing. It was all in a foreign language. It come up with a live feed camera. You had to pay an entry fee, but that was only a donation, to be honest, because I didn't pay anything and I got through. But anyway, I went through to the feed. It was a foreign soldier being tortured, and the thing was, you could see that the feed had been going for literally days. You could scroll back a week if you wanted to. The most disturbing part of this to me is that it was live. This person was actually being tortured. People were saying what to do to him. You could hear him screaming. They waterboarded him or electrocuting him. It was disgusting. All you could hear was him screaming. It must be horrible how helpless he was. How helpless I was to him. It was disgusting. I just pray it wasn't live and they weren't actually following what the people were telling them to do.